Good morning, everybody. This is Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Siegel Network. Our show is sponsored by Hod Golan, the height of taste. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Naomi Nachman. I'm about all the food all the time. I love shopping for it, cooking it, eating at restaurants, anything food related. I'm a kosher personal chef. My business is called the Aussie Gourmet. And anytime you don't feel like cooking, you give me a call. Shabbos Yontov, Pesach, only 50-something days away. Don't want to cause big Pesach panic now, but yeah. So I hope you'll tune in every week to Table for Two on the Nachum Siegel Network and hear about my cooking adventures and kosher food traveling and sharing of great food recipes and ideas each week with my amazing guests. But I want to hear about your experiences too, so you can email me, naomi@nachumsiegel.com. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. What have I left out? Yeah, I'm sure I've left something out there. I have a website, the Aussie Gourmet, and you can sign up for my newsletter through my website and send out 1 or 2 recipes a week with through the website. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun doing what I do. It's really, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, eating their way through New York. I'm having a really great time because today's actually the day after Kosher Food and Wine Expo 2015. It was at the Manhattan Pavilion, sponsored by Royal Wines, and it was unbelievable. And I have in my studio 3 guests, amazing guests who we've become, you'll hear throughout the segments throughout this show today, all about each one of the guests. But we figured while they're all together in New York, we're going to meet up the day after the show. So the actual, even though it's the day, you're going to hear this show a week after KFWE. We're actually recording this show today right after the event, and it was a fabulous event. I'm going to introduce my 3 guests. Today we have Yosef Silva from kosherwines.com. He's actually in from Kansas, and we actually decided special to come into the studio today. Thank you, ZK, for organizing this for us and coming in on a random Tuesday to do the show, because if he's coming in from Kansas City for the wine show, I want him here in the historic Lower East Side in the iconic studio of Nachum Siegel. So thank you for joining me today. I also have Jonathan Margolin, Token Scalpel, and of course Melinda Strauss, my dear friend. Is she there? Hi, Melinda.
Oh, hey, I'm here.
Hey. Melinda from kitchen-tester.com. We're all going to do a wrap-up together. We're going to talk individually with everybody. But I had to have Melinda on because this past week, I don't know if you've been following her on Facebook, her explosion of unbelievable hamantaschen is unreal. And with this, it's now Adar, so we need to really explore, and Purim is coming up super fast, put you in that Purim panic, as well as Pesach panic, so we have to talk to Melinda about her hamantaschen. So I'm going to welcome all my guests. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Melinda, it's so great to hear everybody, have everybody right here in the studio, so I'm very happy that we finally coordinated this. Yosef's been a guest over the phone.
Yep.
So
great
now,
to be here in person.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't it amazing? It's like all of Nachum and Miriam and all our hosts are all part of each show, and I feel like everyone's with us. How you doing?
I'm great. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, you like New York, right?
I do, in small doses. I like my small town life, but it's great to come into town for special events. This is my 3rd time in for Kosher Food and Wine Experience. It's a great event. It's a great reason to come to New York.
Yeah, it's especially now that you've changed caps a little bit. Yosef has an incredible blog we've spoken about before, This American Bite, just innovative, creative recipes, and he's now become the, am I saying it right, the Director of Marketing for kosherwines.com.
Yes.
So
I have been involved with kosherwine.com for a couple of years in a freelance capacity. As of the start of the year, I left my corporate day job and I joined kosherwine.com full-time. So my responsibilities are all our marketing, our promotions, working with people like you, Melinda, John, to just find the perfect food and wine pairings. I'm also responsible for all the customer experience. So if there's an issue with your order or you have a question about a pairing, I see my goal as building community around kosher wine. We all know the Batanuras and the sweet Sacramento wines. There are phenomenal 90-point rated wines from all over the world. Chile, Australia, Israel. and I think the average kosher consumer doesn't know that they're out there.
Right.
And they're not all with $100 price tags. There's some great affordable kosher wine available to everybody.
So let's talk about some of the wines, as this is a bit of a wrap-up for our Kosher Food and Wine Show. I'm a big fan of Royal Wines, and Royal Wines sponsors our network right here on Nachum Siegel Network. But what were the standouts for you? Because there are, I don't even know, I forgot to ask Jay how many bottles were actually shown. Thousands. We were talking about in the thousands. What were the standouts for you?
I am always being a fan of the Flam Winery.
Flam. Yeah,
Flam,
Ari White said that too.
Right, they make phenomenal wines. They have the attention to detail of their winemaking. The quality of their wine is by leaps and bounds. It's one of my favorites. Flam and Castell are two of my favorite wineries and have been for many years.
Oh, interesting.
In fact, 2 or 3 years ago, I introduced Melinda to the Castell, the Domaine du Castell.
Oh yeah, Castell's now my favorite wine. It's one of the only ones that I really like to drink, and it's because of Yosef. It's so good.
In fact, the Domaine du Castell, my wife and I opened when we got engaged. We had an 04.
Very nice.
It's a great wine. It's great for a special occasion. Yeah. Flam actually was served to President Obama when he met with Shimon Peres. There was a state dinner, and they drank Flam together. So they are making a very high-end quality product.
Enough to serve President Obama. There you go.
Woohoo! Another winery that I really I enjoy a lot is Psagot.
Yeah.
I personally love a dry red wine. I like a Cab, I like a Merlot, I like something that leaves my palate feeling really dry. But Psagot have a port-style wine. There are very few kosher ports.
Let's talk about what a port is for some of our new listeners who are not sure what a port is. I have a rough idea, but even I would like to know.
So port is a sweeter wine. It's often served with dessert. It's really rich in flavor, rich in color. Kind of luxurious, and it's a sweeter wine.
Is it like a finishing?
Yeah, you'll serve it at the end. I will serve it at the end of a meal. And Psagot make a port-style wine. It's not actually a port, because it's, I don't know the specifics of when is something officially a port, but it's port-style, and it's my favorite kosher port that's easily available in the U.S.
Okay, what do you mean easily available? Like through...
It's in stores. We sell it at kosherwine.com.
Okay.
Psagot is a mainstream brand. You're not going to have to search for it.
Okay, great. What else?
The French wine scene was really strong and present at KFWE yesterday.
Nice. Got to support the French Jews right now.
Absolutely. And something that was interesting, I was discussing with one of the French winemakers last night, is he said in the American market, we talk about liking our Cab. We like our Merlot. You want your Pinot. And in France, it's about the Chateau. It's about who's made that wine. The Chateau is the winery or the vineyard or I guess the company.
A chateau's like a castle, right?
It is. But a lot of French wines will be named Chateau something. And they said they are less focused on what the blend is or what the type of grape is. It's about that family that's been making wine or that vineyard. It's about that chateau. So they do list what's in it, but that's not their focus. It's on making the perfect blend or the perfect wine. I believe that the French wine scene is going to grow in the U.S. I think it's that they're readily available.
Right. I like their Drapier. I will still stand by that.
Right.
5 years going straight to the Kosher Food and Wine Show, and I'm not the red wine drinker.
Right.
I like the Drapier champagne.
Absolutely.
A couple of batches are made a year. It's actually not even a kosher company, but they do get a mashgiach in and do whatever they do to make it, fit for us to drink as kosher consumers, and still my favorite.
The Drapier is very popular. We sell a lot of it. I found that it paired very nicely with some of the foods last night. I was enjoying it. There was a lamb dish we were discussing on the way over here that I failed to remember who was making it, but it just worked really nicely. It's a good
champagne and lamb. That's not even something you would even think about normally.
I really enjoyed it. Like, you think of champagne, celebration, parties. It's an enjoyable wine to
have for a Shabbat dinner with a lamb dinner.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Okay, next. I see he has a lot of wines there, so I want to try and hit up some of the wines that he's got on his list.
I don't want to overwhelm with names and brands, but something that happened recently in the wine industry is Shiloh is getting a lot of recognition as well.
Jay Bookspam has brought Shiloh into us.
And we actually have, are you familiar with a Magnum? Those very large bottles that double size.
No, I am not.
So they're a double size bottle. They're very large. You put them on the table. They look great on a Purim table or as a Purim gift.
Okay.
Buy a
And
Magnum of wine. They're delicious.
Okay.
It's the same wine as in a regular bottle. It's just a double size.
Is there a picture on Instagram?
I can post one on Instagram, absolutely.
Okay,
And
to all of our listeners who would like to see what this double size, I'm going to ask Yosef to take a regular bottle of wine and this double-sized bottle of wine. He's going to put it on the Instagram page of
This American Bite.
This American Bite
yep.
on his own Instagram page. This American Bite, that's his handle, I guess, on Instagram.
You can also look up our magnums on Kosher Wine. But yeah, we'll...
And that way people from our listeners can see and then they can order it. They have time. And the beauty about his website, they're shipping it to your front door.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go and fight parking anywhere. You don't have to pay for shipping.
We do free shipping on all full cases of wine. You order 12 bottles, it ships for free.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure you also always get a good deal when you buy a full case of wine as
Absolutely.
well. Okay. Let's talk a little bit now about some of the other things that Kosher Wines does. Kosherwines.com does.
Kosher Wine, we are essentially we're the largest retailer of kosher wine in the country. We have a fine wine consultant that can help you.
What do you mean by that? Just
someone who can help you find the perfect wine for your pairing. We happily field questions.
So
about
people
wines.
email you?
Yeah, you can reach out.
Or you can call?
You can reach out to us on Twitter, Kosher Wine Site, and I get a lot of questions. Especially
What's your Twitter handle?
Kosher Wine Site.
Okay, cool.
So it's Kosher Wine Site, SITE. And you'll find me tweeting there. I have a lot of food blogs that will reach out about a pairing, what's good for a dessert, what's good with a main.
What's good with hamantaschen?
I'm so good with hamantaschen. I think the thing I'm most excited about for 2015 is we're expanding our range of private labels and exclusive imports.
Okay, what do you mean by private label?
So a private label is a wine that is made for us. It's only available through us. We have worked with the wineries, determined what that blend is.
Boutique, right?
Some of them are boutiques. We're working with wineries in Chile and France and Israel. And in a similar vein, we have some exclusive imports. And that means that we are bringing those into the country. And they're available through us. But our private labels, our exclusive lines are going to be very exciting this year. We don't have specific dates on them, but you can sign up for email notifications from us as well, or follow us on Twitter, and we'll be making noise about those as soon as we have them.
That's really exciting.
Are those in the Wine of the Month club? Like, are those part of it? Or?
So, yeah, our wine clubs are very popular. Membership to a wine club.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
That was one of my next questions because I love the idea of a wine club.
Right. The wine clubs are great. We ship to your door once a month. We have them at different levels of different tastes. So if you only like red, there's a club for you. If you like red and white, there's one for you. 90-point only, that's great.
What did you say?
A 90-point rated wine. So those are the top rated wines in the industry.
What 90? Okay, let's go back. Educate all of us right now.
So
what does that mean?
The wine industry as a global standard. This isn't just kosher wine.
Global standard. Okay.
If something is 90 point, it's the best. It's a point scale. So 90 plus is going to be
what
the
makes
best.
it 90?
I don't know how.
Where did that scale come from?
So it's a 100-point scale, and it's the very top.
Okay, the top 10% of wines.
And each body that awards scores that may do it a little differently, and obviously it's a very private system.
And also,
but it's recognition.
And also, I guess, which awards it has won as well.
Right. Yeah. So there are gold medals and medals that wines can win, but as an industry standard, the 90-point plus is going to be the best of the best.
Okay, and you have a 90-point club.
We have a 90-point club. We sell
that's
a 90-point
really cute. I like that. Very creative.
We're doing a wine tasting event in Kansas City on February 19, and our wine club members come for free.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. We also, at the moment, we're running a promotion. If you join our wine club for 6 or 12 months, you get $50 to spend on the website. So
that's great.
Yeah, you join one of our wine clubs. So you go to kosherwine.com, and in the top banner that says wine clubs.
Right, and you had mentioned that people from our listeners who join, what were we saying?
Well, if you want to place an order at kosherwine.com and use the code table for two, so TABLE 42, the words, not the numbers.
FOURTWO. Table 42. You have to write out table 42.
Yeah, the word table for two. That will give you 5% off your order.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for our table for two listeners.
So that's TABLEFORTOW.
TWO.
I know. We're still recovering from last night. You have to excuse us if we stutter on our words.
There we
but
go.
It was really intense.
There we go.
And I didn't even drink in the evening portion. I was there during the day for Just Press.
Yep.
And I had a lot of the wines. I did not touch any wine at night. I had a glass right at the end, but I wanted to stay very focused.
Well, I think that each of us have talked a little bit off the air about what we get out of the event. And like for me, that time with the winemakers and the wineries, that's what's worth my time flying in for. Whereas the food, I love the food, but there's so many people there, and I'm not someone who's going to battle through a crowd.
Yeah, he's not from New York, can you tell? Actually, he's not even from America. Can you tell that he has an accent?
Brooklyn, no?
Yeah, that's what they said about me. He's actually born in England.
Yes, I am.
Made Aliyah.
Yes. I lived in Israel for 5 years. Met my wife there. Our oldest son was born in Israel.
Oh, nice. I did not know that.
And when he was 3 or 4 months old, we moved to the States. And how we got to Kansas City is a whole other story, but we decided to make our home in Kansas City.
There's a very nice Jewish community in Kansas.
Wonderful Jewish community. We have an Eruv, we have shuls, we have food, we have a day school.
And you have a kosher barbecue competition.
We do. August 16th this year. It will be our, I forget if it's our 4th or 5th year. We were the first kosher barbecue festival in the country to be officially sanctioned by the Kansas City Barbecue Society.
I saw that.
And they are
Mazel
a global,
tov.
thank you. Well, they are the global
standard
for barbecue. And I believe Dallas just announced that they are going KCBS as of this year as well.
That is
So to see the change that's going to happen with the barbecue,
Woo.
there's I take a lot of pride in the effort and energy. I am on the board for the Vat of Kashrut, and like there's a lot of energy that goes into our barbecue festival every year, and I'm very proud to be a part of that.
It's phenomenal. You're the first forerunners of all this, because now they're popping up in Connecticut and
Right.
Long Island, and we've been part of that as some of us from the network.
And that's really credit due to Mendel Siegel.
Mendel's. He's been a guest on the show.
Right. He lives for
Food.
He's so passionate about barbecue and food, and he does a tremendous amount for our community.
Yeah.
And the barbecue festival is his brainchild.
Yeah, he's done amazing. And when I saw him at Kosher Fest, he gave me a container of his spices.
Right.
I've been putting that. This could even be a What's for Dinner segment, but it's not going to be. Where I sprinkle his seasoning
Yep.
on a brisket. I put
Yep.
in the crock pot with onions and potatoes.
Yep.
Sweet potatoes, actually, some ketchup, a lot of barbecue sauce and water, and I cook it overnight in my crock pot.
Right.
And it's amazing. His spices are phenomenal. So we're waiting for
Right.
him to mass produce that
He-
for us all.
He is working on a barbecue sauce that is going to be in mass production. That is something that we can all buy and taste at home. And he's when it comes to barbecue, he's an authority. He
We're
knows
going
what
to
he's
tweet
doing.
out to you, Mendel.
Right.
It's Kansas City style barbecue.
I believe so.
So I love Kansas City barbecue.
Yeah, it's got its own unique flavors. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Mendel's great. He missed out last night. He definitely did. But we were all tweeting him and
Take a
texting
picture.
him. Right.
I know. It was really a lovely night, and it's a really great food gathering.
Right.
For all the foodies and all the winos. I don't know what the right word is. People that really appreciate, and I feel like with the growth and people like Jay Buxbaum and Royal Wines who are educating people to drink good wines, and people, thank God, have got jobs and they want to reach out and spend some of their money on the wine and food. We're always happy to help and educate, and I think that's really fantastic.
I think, in my opinion, it goes beyond that, and something that I really believe is that food creates community. And like, I'm in Kansas City. You guys, I don't even know your boroughs in New York, but and we're friends.
So cute.
Been to my house.
I've been to your house. I can't tell you where it is, but I've been to your house.
Okay, so I just want to. It's kind of funny. The four of us are here on the iconic, amazing, historic Lower East Side. Melinda is from Seattle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan is born and raised in New Jersey.
No, Long Island.
Long Island?
Yes.
Oh, Merrick, Long Island.
Merrick, Long Island.
Merrick, Long Island. Right, but he now lives in New Jersey.
Yes.
You live in Kansas City, but
do.
you've got a whole history of
My
moving.
family actually moved to England in the 1600s when Jews were allowed in with Cromwell.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yep.
That's so interesting.
Yep.
I remember I studied that in Jewish history. I'm an Aussie, and ZK is born and bred in Brooklyn. Yeah, so we got a little bit of a mix over here, and here we are all meeting, and our sense of community and our sense of food. Like, we're all really good friends. Like, we always talk, when are we, we all met for breakfast this morning, and then we're like, when can we meet again? And it's really nice, the support system that the kosher, I like to use the word foodies, but all the kosher foodies have got, and
Food
kosher
enthusiasts.
appreciation, or, food appreciation.
Yep.
Sometimes I call myself, yes, I'll say it, a food snob. But, we
You should
love
take that with
to eat.
pride. I'm proud to be a food
I
snob.
do. Hashtag food snob. Yeah. I don't go to a restaurant, and when I go to a restaurant and there's pasta, I'll always ask them if it's from a box or did they make it themselves. So And they made it themselves. I'll try it. It's from a box and give it a miss.
Make
So-
that at home.
Yeah, that's right. It's okay. We are food snobs, and not everybody can or has the capability or time to make their own pasta, but definitely a fun thing to do. Okay, so we're going to just continue the conversation along, and thank you for joining us. And you're going to
Pleasure.
pipe up in a little bit. Let's just give some attention to. We have Dr. Jonathan Margolin.
Yes.
Dr. Chef Jonathan Margolin, and I say that with such pride to know you,
Thank
and
you.
it's such an honor. Like we
It's a
met
pleasure.
literally at Kosher Fest 3 months ago. We became very fast friends.
Yes.
And I introduced you to our whole kosher group, and we've had a fabulous time over the last 20. It's literally 24 hours that we have all been together eating and drinking and sharing, supporting.
Right. Which I think is so important. Food really breaks down lots of barriers, and it brings everyone together, and it's just so important, for to have that experience. And for me, my whole life and career, I've been healing people, and now it's a chance to heal people from inside out, and to really have that experience.
I love that.
Which is it's so important to bring to our community, and to have that experience that everyone can have.
Right, from family dinners to group lunches with friends to supper clubs.
Exactly.
And cooking. Jonathan has a blog called Toke and Scalpel. He also has a medical degree. He's a podiatrist.
Yes, that's great.
He's probably one of the smartest guys I know, and I haven't even known him that long. To have two talents like that is just fantastic. You are truly blessed.
Thank you.
And lots more brachot to you.
Thank you. I
Amen.
appreciate it very much.
Where did you actually go to chef school?
I went to CKCA in Brooklyn.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Big fans.
It's a wonderful,
Shout out to you guys.
beautiful experience, and very much recommend anyone would like to be able to have that experience as well. Whether you're doing it for professionally or you're doing it as a hobby, or it's just an amazing place to be able to have that experience, to be able to create your dishes, to be able to taste everything, and to have that full involvement in the culinary world.
Jonathan has burst onto the scene. Really, like we as I said, we met at Kosher Fest, but I see you're everywhere. He's even in joyofkosher.com. Like
Yes.
that's a real nice, a very nice thing to, being at the beginning of your career to get picked up so quickly. His blog is fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, I can already hear listeners saying to me through my headphones, "What's a toque?"
Right.
Because I didn't know.
So the name of my company, or
Just spell
seller
it
as
out.
well, it's TOQUE. A toque is a French chef's hat. A toque itself, if you note, has folds in it, and that's there are 100 folds in a toque that gives accolade to 100 things that you can do with cooking eggs with it as well, which is
So
very
cool, I love
interesting.
it.
And for me, Token
Brilliant.
Scalpel gives accolades to my professional life of being a podiatric surgeon and having that ability to do that as well. So that's how I came up with the name, to bring both together, because it's made me who I am as an individual.
I
It's
feel-
the way I'll be bringing it on.
I think a lot of it is about our name. Like,
Yes.
I Aussie, because being Australian is so part of who I am, and gourmet is like food is who I am. So
Right.
I think it's important to, identify us and brand ourselves like that. So
Right.
you've
That's
done a
very
great job
important.
at that.
Thank you.
Photography is unreal. Can I just,
So
we've
good.
had many a conversation
Yes.
about your website, but who taught you the photography?
I did it on my own, so I just have an eye for things. Prior to getting involved with cooking, I have art background, being able, draw and paint and do things as well.
Yes,
And to be able to enjoy that, and
Poo, poo, poo.
the artistry of putting things together, which I find is so important, that you eat with your eyes before you taste the food, to be able to bring in everything, and for people to see exactly what you're trying to give to them, which is so important. And once you put those together, it just completes the whole experience, which is amazing. And I enjoy it very much, to give that to our community as a whole.
Did you cook as a kid? Did little Dr. Jonathan
So,
cook?
so I did. I actually.
Were you eight? Were you like my buddy? Oh my gosh, Eitan Bernath. Like
So
you know
I know
him
Eitan very
also.
well from the Tina
Eitan,
community.
big fan
Yes.
of Eitan's. He's been on the show. He actually did a live show with us from Gourmet Glad a couple of weeks ago. And he, one of those young, exceptional chefs. Were you like?
But so for myself, I grew up as I guess you would call it in the 80s, a latchkey kid. Both my parents are professionals, and I came into the house, and when I wanted something, I made it pretty much. And I grew up with watching my mother cook, my grandmother cook, and having that involvement to be able to do so. And what brought me into the culinary world was, for me, I am Baal Tshuva, and prior to becoming religious, I experienced other things within the culinary world, and I found it to really complete me and to bring that to everybody itself, and having different experiences. And now, as I've gotten older and unmarried, getting those experiences with my wife's family of being Tunisian and Russian and a couple of different
really
things
nice
as well, and having those experiences to bring out of what is not necessarily mainstream Judaism or Jewish cooking, or per se, that would define. I find that in New York, per se, everyone says, "Oh, do you have Jewish cooking?" And most of the time, it's a corned beef sandwich with Dr. Brown soda and cream, or other things itself, which is also,
Not bad,
especially
Jack.
here on the Lower East Side, with having Gus's pickles or different
Schmolka
things.
Bernstein's was like right up the road.
So that's an experience, but it's so much more, and that's why I'm so happy to have this experience and to be involved with it. That kosher cuisine is so much bigger and so much more.
Right, and did you enjoy last night with the whole, we definitely spoke about the wines, but,
Yes.
the food scene there?
Oh, it was huge. Yeah,
It was huge.
The different chefs that came to there, and the experiences and the food that they presented to us was delicious. Everything was really nice.
And I see that there's always shifts in trends of kosher food, and I like 2-3 years ago, the pulled brisket was like all over the place, the smoked stuff, the barbecue stuff, and we love it. It's fab. But I noticed a lot more charcuterie, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right with my crazy accent.
Yes.
And but charcuterie is become so popular, and there was a lot more this year. Ari White had amazing charcuterie, and pomegranate had some, and of course Prime Grills was unbelievable. It was like butter.
So charcuterie, which people don't know about.
Yes, you're going to explain that.
Charcuterie is it's a very old way of being able to preserve meats. Before refrigeration, people would preserve their meats in this way and this fashion. And over in Europe is mostly this art form, which I find is very delectable and delicious. Most of the things that are made out there are made of not necessarily kosher products, but there are a lot on the market that we have at this point, and more of it bursting at the seams to give this to our community as a whole. And it's been amazing, and there are more to come, I believe.
There's
just
more and
so
more.
much to expand on to be able to do so. And I know how much you love, so I made some bresaola, which is Italian cured meat, to bring for
Everybody
you
knows
as
how much I
well.
love to eat, especially
Yes.
eating on table for two. And CK's so happy because it's not milky, because he loves when we open up a package of something flashy. So can we open
Just-
some
of
up? Do we need
course.
scissors?
Of course.
I'm just going to hold it up. Just to a lot of our listeners and viewers at home, you can watch our show on Nachum Siegel Net on YouTube. You can listen to our show on iTunes, on the Nachum Siegel Network app, or on nachumsiegel.com. I think I've covered that. So people actually came over to me last night. They said, "Oh, we listened to your show. We're a fan of yours." So I thought it was really exciting because all the foodies were together, and it was nice to be,
Yes.
meet new people that listen to our show. So it was really nice. Okay, so
So just give
I'm
you
just
a.
holding this up to the camera for those of you watching, but I just want to. Do you want to explain?
So I'm going to give
what
you
I'm
a
doing?
description. So the
Okay,
bresaola
because he made it, he should
is
describe it.
is Italian cured meat. It is made. There are different ways of making it, but this one in particular has a rub of rosemary, thyme, juniper berries. There is no garlic and all, but there are a lot of times that there are some chefs who make it, and they make it with in a wine reduction. This itself was cured for about 2 weeks, and then the whole process itself, it's been actually curing now for about 2.5, 3 months at this
Do you
point.
keep this in the fridge?
So I've been keeping it in the fridge at this point, and it's under vacuum seal
Okay,
to be able to do
which
so.
keeps out all the bacteria and air.
So the actual meat itself has a very flavorful, fruity, very woodsy type of flavor as well. Usually when you make it, it has a purplish, pinkish color. The way this is made is I made it with the shoulder of the of beef to be able to
shoulder
make
of
that.
beef.
Right.
Okay.
And then you have to butcher it in such a way to make it as a.
Do you
a
do
loin
this? Do you
itself.
do your own
yes, I
butchering?
did it myself as well.
Because he's a
to make it
surgeon,
better.
he knows how to butcher his own meat. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece.
Of course,
I'm going to
enjoy.
pass it
Come
around.
over.
Enjoy.
I'm just stealing ZK.
Usually
We
it
always
should
do.
be cut fairly thin. It could be served with different. Usually, I like to serve it with like figs, or to be able to serve it with.
It's kind of like a cheese board, but it's meat.
Yes.
Some people actually serve charcuterie and cheese if you're not, in the big wide world out there.
Yes.
People do charcuterie with cheeses and fabulous wines,
It's
but we
a-
kind of like going to keep them separate because that's what we do.
Yeah, it complements it's not a full meal. It's a complement what you're doing and so many people who have charcuterie think it's a full meal, but it's actually to complement your taste and to bring in the other foods that you're experiencing.
Okay,
as
we're
a
all
whole.
melting over here.
So
Good.
good.
I'm
It's so
glad you're
good.
enjoying it.
It's phenomenal.
Which is great.
One thing I noticed as you were describing it, you use a lot of the terms that I would use as describing wine.
Uh-huh.
Woodsy, you reference the color, and I would eat this while I drink wine. I think
What
it's-
wine would go with this? Here we go,
You're
Yosef.
putting me on the
Wine
spot.
pairing. Wine.
You're putting me on
You
the
want
spot.
You want something to complement it, or to like something that would go against an opposite attraction.
I would have this more with like a spicier type Syrah or something.
Right.
as well.
Something with a little
So,
spice.
yeah.
We all know about me that I have no sweet tooth at all, so I would definitely go that dry.
Yeah, I also have no sweet
spicy.
tooth.
Right.
Or on the sugar.
Only
Love
on wine.
sugar.
See, I like off dry wines. I don't like the very dry ones.
Right.
So.
1848 are doing a bunch of wines. They have the second generation, the fifth generation. They have a cab as well.
1840 is a wine company,
1848 is a wine company. I've had the second generation cab, the fifth generation.
and they're all available through kosherwines.com.
Kosherwine.com. No S, kosherwine.com. And
Kosher wine.
wine.
Yeah,
Wine.
not.
.com.
Even though they have
And
many wines in the
We
store.
have lots of wines. But I think I would enjoy an 1848 fifth generation with this.
Oh, this
nice.
is fantastic. Oh my
Right.
gosh. And
And on my blog, I actually posted I made some roasted artichokes with it as well.
I love
that
We're
artichoke.
putting that together as well, because the meat at times it can be salty, but I find that with this it's not too salty.
I don't find
and
that
then
salty
it's-
at all.
And when you're making it with something else, it complements it well.
Some of the charcuterie last night was a little too salty.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
This is beautiful.
I love
Oh,
that rosemary note.
Yeah,
Love that
it's-
rosemary.
Anyway.
I love rosemary. but
Elderberry
I
is
love
so
it.
good in there. I love
Yeah.
it.
Outstanding.
That's well.
Okay, you are listening to Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Siegel Network, also heard on Arut Sheva English Radio. Our show is sponsored by Hod Golan. Wow, we are having a great show today. I've got three outstanding chefs here in the studio. We're doing a food catch-up from the KFWE, as well as talking about wine and food and charcuterie and all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm really enjoying a piece of brezola. Am I saying it right?
Brezola, yeah.
Brezola.
Bresola.
Oh, there you go.
Brezola.
This is really nice piece of meat.
May
What-
I jump in for the question?
Oh, sure.
Do you share your recipes for your charcuterie on your website, or do you just?
I have not.
Okay.
Of this point.
Share.
It's I am looking to
Put down.
do so. It's also a lot of technique and how you're putting together and choosing the right meat that you're using, and the proportion of what you're utilizing. There are different charcuterie books out there that are out there to be able to discuss, but
Is there
I've
something you could
changed mine
recommend?
as well. Not off the top of my head as far
Okay.
as which ones itself.
I'm sure people could reach out to you
of
through your
course.
website, tokenscalpel.com.
Yes. Any
If you have
questions?
questions
Right.
for
Yeah, and a large part of the charcuterie, the reason why I really gravitated towards brezola is because it can very easily be made at home as well. A lot of the salamis that are out there, they have other additives that you can't necessarily find, not necessarily kosher. They're fermenting agents and other things that you can utilize. Where something like this is fairly simple. You don't necessarily need curing salt, but you can use kosher salt and other things itself too. But you have to be able to have the right way of drying it and different things of the sort.
Curing
as
salt
well.
has sugar in it, right? No.
It's sodium nitrite.
Okay.
It's a mixture of salt, but it doesn't have sugar in itself. Usually you need to complement it either with brown sugar or regular white sugar that you can utilize. This I utilized a little bit of both, actually, as well. Because the brown sugar brings a little bit more of a molasses type of picture
right.
to it. than
It's
just
sweet, but
white.
it's not crazy sweet. It has that hint of sweetness.
Yes.
Delightful.
I'm just so
As
happy
well.
it's not salty.
Yeah, so I was...
Because, yeah.
And it can be made all different ways, but lots of definitely great to experiment.
And
at
it's
home
not a
to be able to
very
do so.
expensive cut of meat either.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, this is something that, it's not out there, and maybe CKCA will give classes, or you would give classes
Right.
on how to do this yourself.
Yes, very much so. And
Because I think it's something you need to see and learn.
Right, there's a big trend now happening within restaurants of utilizing cuts of meat that would normally get discarded, other than organ meats and things, but other types of hard, not very soft meats or different things that you can utilize to cook with are utilized now that have a longer cooking process or different ways you're achieving similar results. And there's so many things you can do with it with the proper technique.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about a day in the life of Jonathan Margolin. He's new to blogging. He's definitely, Yosef's been doing it a good couple of years. 2010.
We started around the same time.
Around 4 years ago. We
4 years
started.
ago, Melinda. 4 years ago, right? You
Just
had
had
your
my
blogiversary. I think that's so cute.
Yep, so
Yeah, so I've had my website up for about 10 years, but blogging is definitely on the newer side for me. Okay, so, how long your recipes are beautiful.
Thank you.
They're tasty, delicious. They look great when you photograph them. How long does that process take? Do you take a day off from work to do this?
No. It's really inspiration, and it's actually for my family at this point. Putting things together, I'd like to be able to share with everyone else as well. But after seeing patients or at different times, I just get inspiration to create something and to be able to present things. And at this point, my children are very spoiled in the food that they're eating.
Oh, yeah. We all have spoiled children here.
To be able to do so. But it's really an adventure. So it's my decompressing time as far as after being in work and other things itself. And then I come back to this to get my creative vibe
juices
flowing as well, and to be able to do so. And it's a great moment, great special.
Okay, wonderful. It's really lovely to hear, fresh perspective from a new blogger, and
Thank you.
New to our community, right, guys? Like Melinda and Yosef.
Yeah.
It's great, and Yosef's so happy to have more male food bloggers out there.
It's great.
It's been very pleased and very happy with open arms that you brought me into the community, and to have that as well,
Okay,
and to be able to be with each other and to enjoy this moment.
We share the love of food on Table for Two.
Definitely.
That's what we're all about. All the food, all the time, right here.
You should call it Table for 22.
So it was really nice. The Jewish Home wrote an article about this. Is actually, I just had my second anniversary last week of Table for Two. So now this is technically the start of my third season, I guess, even though I kind of started a little bit into the first season of the Nachman Siegel Network. So everyone's in full swing of the third, but I really came in late. So so we had a little bit of a celebration for me. And the Jewish Home wrote a nice little article about me, my local 5 Towns newspaper, and they called it Table for Two or 250. So because I love to cook for everyone. So on that note, let's do our What's for Dinner segment, sponsored by our friends at Gourmet Glatt. So talking about inspiration, we've had so much crazy bad weather this month of February. So far, at time of recording this show, there were 2 snow days. Well, one was a snow day and one was an ice day, where the roads were just horrible, so they
Perfect
had cancelled
time to
school.
cook.
Yeah. So
Lovely.
what would inspire me to cook? And what did I have in my house that I didn't want to actually go out? So I called this I called it blizzard soup. It's on my blog, but I just want to share this recipe with my listeners. It's basically a vegetable soup with kale, apple, and cabanossi sausage. It's part of an homage to all the dried meats and the cured meats. And of course, it's from Hod Golan, which is available at Gourmet Glatt. I took the cute little tiny sausages and I cut them up, and I love them. I sauteed some onion, a jalapeno pepper. I took out the ribs and seeds because I don't like it so spicy. But if you want it more, I have to swallow. That doesn't happen too often. You have to you keep the ribs and the heat in. If you want more heat, keep the ribs and the seeds in with your chopped up jalapeno, but I don't like it so spicy, so I take it out. Cup of diced celery, 1 cup of cut up, peeled and chopped apple. I know that's surprising, right, in a soup. Really delicious. 1 6-ounce package of chicken cabanossi from Hod Golan. Chop that up. About 6 cups of chopped up kale. And I sauteed that all up. First I did the onions, then I threw everything else in. It was so easy. And then I threw in my garlic and my cumin, my vegetable broth, can of diced tomatoes, and then a can of white beans. I use Great Northern. I drained it, and then I threw the beans in as well, tossed it, and I also used fire roasted tomatoes. It has that depth of flavour, and then salt and black pepper to taste. It did not take too long to cook. When it was ready, I kind of added in a little bit of sriracha, my new love, and then, seasoned it. And one of my kids loves salt a little too much, so she completely put in a ton of salt, but I thought it was seasoned just right. And then you adjust as you go. You don't have to use the cumin. If you like curry, use curry. As I always say, recipes are just suggestions by the chef, but find your own inner chef and create your own slight variation of flavours. But it was an absolute fabulous recipe, and it froze amazing. Like, I made a huge, 8-quart pot. We ate it over 2 days at dinner, and then the rest over I froze because I couldn't serve it a third meal. That would kill me. So it's in the freezer, and it's a really delicious chunky soup for a really cold night. So hopefully, as February wraps up and we move closer to Chag HaAviv, this bad weather will go with it. But you have some warm, chunky, hot soup to keep you warm through these winters. And it's also, you didn't need too much else because it was so chunky. And it had meat in it. You didn't need tons of side dishes. So, it was an all-in-one almost meal. So, continuing our conversation, I have Melinda. Hi, Melinda.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
We had so much fun. Melinda and I got to stay in the city. And
a sleepover.
We had it was, we travel a lot together to a lot of the food shows, and we love to, I'm just going to move a little so I can see Melinda eye to eye.
I'll scooch too.
Makes for a better interview. So we have a lot of fun food adventures together. Melinda and I have been known to go to 4 restaurants in one day, eating our way through New York City. Yeah. So I had to have Melinda on because, Purim is any minute now. I always feel like Pesach is tomorrow. But, Melinda and I are going to cook together for Pesach. We're going to have a lot of fun.
So excited.
But Melinda's been decided that she was going to spend a week in her house because it was too cold, just cooking hamantaschen.
Oh yeah, I made so many. Still have so many I want to make, but I think I shouldn't overwhelm everybody with too much.
Okay.
But I started with 3. Again, the list keeps going, and I keep getting suggestions from people. So if you have any ideas, email them to me, kitchentested@gmail.com. I keep getting great ideas. I do have one I really, really want to do that may or may not include Oreos. And maybe frying or deep frying.
Deep frying a hamantaschen?
Yeah, just putting the hint out there.
I'm getting
Nobody
too excited.
copy me.
Banging the microphone. Yeah. You have to wait for Melinda's blog. Okay, so I'm actually going to hold up 3 that she's been posted, and then she's going to talk to us about the art of making the right dough. Mm-hmm. So we have here, Melinda, I'm going to hold this up to the camera, and you're going to describe. Yeah. If you make the recipe here, you have to do the describing. So Jonathan did his meat, and now you're going to do your hamantaschen. So
this is a black and white cookie hamantaschen. And I basically use the same basic dough for all my hamantaschen. I'll adapt it based on what else I put in it, but I just love this specific one. There's no eggs in it, which is great. It's not exactly a healthy recipe, but it has no eggs. Some people
okay, we're not talking healthy. It's a cookie.
Exactly.
Okay? And it's Purim. We're on diets, We're no diet.
Yeah. So this is actually filled with a black and white cookie butter. So I took
What's
black
a cookie butter? Yeah.
So cookie butters are basically where you blend any cookie you want. You can use any cookie you want.
Oreo.
Oh yeah.
My
and
favorite.
You just take it, you blend it. People use heavy cream. I use Rich's Whip, like a whip topping.
Because you want it parve.
Exactly. And margarine or butter. Butter's always better, but
butter
we're
is
making
better.
A parve. So I blended Rich's Whip, the whip topping, with margarine and black and white cookies that I bought at the grocery store.
So
good.
What's the texture? Like a cream cheese texture?
Oh yeah, that would be a good way of describing it. Yeah,
right.
Or they call it a butter because it has that kind of soft texture. And if you don't like a soft mush cookie, you're not gonna like it. But if it's so good, just eat it with a spoon. Seriously, just eat it with a spoon and you'll be happy.
So when you bake it, how does it go into the dough itself? Or
yeah, so what you do, so I make my dough and it's super pliable dough. I love it. And
okay,
then,
great. Yeah.
I just put like a half a teaspoon because if you put too much filling in your hamantaschen, they are going to open up everywhere and they'll taste really good, but you're not going to want to serve them to people.
Won't be pretty.
Yes. And another tip that I always give is to take your fingers as you're making the hamantaschen, the little circle, and I press around the edges with a little bit of water on my fingers and then I close them. Then I close them up because it's just the water helps keep everything together.
So even with a cookie dough, I do that with puff pastry. I make a pastrami hamantaschen, but I use puff pastry. Of course, pastrami because, Abel's and Hyman and Hod Golan. And I always find it opens up. So I was using water to around the circumference to help it keep close. But you should do that with a cookie dough as well.
That 100% with a hamantaschen dough. I mean, not all cookies need this, but people are always saying, oh, they're always opening. And every different dough that I've used, a little bit of water goes a long way. I mean, people use egg also, but I'm already egg free in the dough, so why add egg
Okay,
here?
good point.
And it just helps, dip my fingers in water, go around the edges and close it up. I like to close as much as possible, like where there's just a teeny tiny opening, because they're always going to open a little bit as they bake.
Correct.
So I try and close them so much that all you see is a little dot in the center of the filling. And then after they cool, I make a traditional black it's a chocolate icing basically for the black and white cookie. So I make a vanilla and I make a chocolate, and then I painstakingly went over each one. It's so much fun to do with kids. I'll be honest, my kids actually help me with this one. It can get a little messy, but that's okay, because then you get to lick your fingers or wash your hands if you're serving them to other people. And I just made them look like black and white cookies, and they taste. You are welcome to taste.
Okay, I'm gonna.
They taste like
everybody
black and white
knows I
cookies.
love to eat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to divide this up because we have one. She bought us one of everything. I'm going to just divide it up. I was lucky enough to have them fresh out of the oven.
That's true. And they freeze
the
really,
other
really
day.
well.
So I'm going to pass that around to my foodie friends.
You like the chocolate, you like the white. Everybody's got their preference too.
Oh,
can make these
I got
with
a little
just
of each.
chocolate if you want. I don't need. I mean, I have a million in my freezer, so I'm good. You guys share them.
Okay, give a little to
And they're dairy free. Everything's dairy free that I'm doing. Just so you know.
You can see all
there is gluten in them. That's right. Yosef can't eat them
You see
because
the
he's gluten
layers
free.
inside the cookie.
yeah, 100% gluten free. Okay.
About 2 years now.
Like
2 years.
the
Wow.
flakiness
No
of
cheat.
it.
It's a great recipe. My aunt makes this recipe made it for years, and I was at her house once, and I'm like, I
Very
need this
good.
recipe now.
I do wish I could eat them.
I know.
'Cause everything
use
anything
I'm
I've eaten
sorry.
I have some
else.
gluten-free hamantaschen
I
on
know
my
you
blog.
do.
Yeah, you
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, you do. This is absolutely. I'm a big fan of the black and white cookie on a good day.
We'll be talking a lot before Purim
I
on
like how the
gluten-free
dough
hamantaschen.
is not so sweet, but it complements the frosting.
Yeah,
and
it's
everything.
definitely
So
not
it's
too sweet.
delicious.
That's really important. for
Right.
me.
What sweetener do you use on it? I'm curious.
So for the dough or for
The
the,
dough
icing,
itself.
the dough had the only sweetener in there. I guess there is a little bit of sugar, but it's also the Rich's Whip adds some
little
extra
sweet,
flavor to it.
yeah.
So you can use coconut milk if you do, and you want it to be sweeter. I would add a little bit extra sugar to it. I actually make them when I want them to be more savory. I'll make it with coconut milk without any added sugar. More sugar than the recipe, a lot.
It's delicious.
Right away when I bit into them, and I'm not a big dessert person, but I do like a good cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big cookie person. Right away I noticed it was a shortbread cookie. And I
love shortbread. Last time I was here, I brought shortbread cookies.
Right, and they were gluten-free.
They were. Oh yeah.
Okay, so now I'm holding in my hands a hamantaschen with blueberry center and fresh blueberries, she said. And on top is a crumble, and it's an homage to the blueberry cobbler.
It's a crisp.
Yeah,
They're a little
cobbler or
different.
crisp. Okay.
Well, cobbler has more of like a very thick topping to it that's kind of plopped on. What would you put in the filling? It's more of a cookie dough that goes on top, or a biscuit, really, that goes on top. That's a cobbler, and then there's a crisp, which is.
There you go. I didn't
know,
even know the difference.
I Googled everything before. I really want to make sure that I'm calling it the
I
right
use them
thing.
interchangeably. I've got to learn now. Okay. So I make a blueberry crisp then every Shabbos.
Oats and nuts, right?
Oats and nuts, or apples instead of blueberries. Depends if I can get them at a good price at Gourmet Glatt. But because sometimes in season they're a little cheaper, and when they're off season it's a little bit expensive. So, and the minute it starts, I see them on at a good price, I grab them. But so I'm just going to hold this hamantaschen up. We got that. I'm just going to make sure that we got a nice little picture for those who are watching. This is amazing.
You had these fresh. These ones you had right out of the oven.
Literally right. They were hot still. And I was actually watching Melinda photograph her set. If you can watch me photograph Melinda on my Instagram page. A couple of weeks ago I did that. So I'm going to take a little bit. And it's actually got tons of filling in that.
Oh, yeah. It
So it's
spreads
got a-
out more because I made it with frozen blueberries, which is great because then when they're frozen, they're flash frozen when they're at their peak. So you're getting a really fresh blueberry.
That's interesting. I thought it was fresh blueberries.
No, you could make it with fresh if you have it
That's
in the house.
nice to
That's
know
fine.
because if you, as we're saying, you can't always buy them for a good price. So now you can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
A lot of times you can get even the best ingredients that are just frozen.
Because they freeze them at their peak really quickly. So you're like a lot of vegetables like that too. As long as you don't overcook the vegetable, you're getting it right at its peak of freshness and it's healthier. But if something's in season, obviously go for that first. But when something's off season, like blueberries,
so
then it's great.
interesting.
This
Yeah.
is the same dough.
It's the same dough. Exactly. Actually,
right?
this one is. I did not do any adaptation to this dough. It's the same exact dough, but I think the filling has a lot of sweetness. There's no white sugar in the filling. I actually use pure maple
Is there any
syrup for this
citrus in
one.
here too? Or no?
Lemon
lemon.
in the filling.
There is.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
There is actually. I'm sorry. There's a little lemon zest in the dough.
There's
taste
lemon
it.
zest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
taste
Forgot
it.
about that one. There's that little adaptation.
We
there.
loved it. We
It's
took
very
it.
good.
We took it. Melinda's when I came over to try some at her house the other week. She sent me some home for my kids. I went nuts over this because we love blueberry crisp. Blueberry crisp. I'm glad I got a
crisp
cobbler
is
anymore.
different. And it's interesting is that I forgot what it is. There's a crisp, there's cobbler, and there's one other one. And the crisp is
Crumble? In England, we call it a crumble.
Has no.
Right.
So here's the difference
Same with
between
us.
them.
Right.
A crisp has oats and nuts, and I believe that oats, and I believe a crumble does not have oats. I think that's the only difference
Right.
between them.
I make a crumble. I've changed
But there's
3
no
times.
oats in the crumble.
I make a crumble.
Flour, brown
Yes.
sugar, and
That's a crumble.
butter or margarine or something.
Right, so I try to be a bit more healthier. So I've kind of, even though it's not quite as good, I don't use the margarine or the butter. It depends if I make it milchig or fleischig.
This has a little margarine in the topping.
So I put, that's why it's so good, but I'll put in canola oil and make a crumb. Flour, 1 cup flour, 1 cup sugar, half a cup of oil, and I do mix it with a fork, and it makes a nice crumble for those of you who are not eating margarine or shortening.
Yeah.
You can do coconut oil and oats as well for
Oh, yeah.
gluten-free and a healthier option as well.
Yeah,
I
my
love
husband hates
that
coconut,
idea.
and that's the only reason that I tend to not use coconut oil for stuff like because it takes on the flavor of the coconut,
does a
which
little.
is so good. But he
Right,
hates
in a
coconut.
crumble, it's great.
Oh, I would love it. My mother actually puts in her, what did we call
Crumble?
it? Crumble. Dried coconut.
Really,
Yum,
it's
I like
interesting.
that.
Really good. My mother's known for
That would be
her.
great with this too. If you want to add dry, coconut to it, unsweetened coconut would be so good in there because it toasts up while it bakes. So you're going to get the toasted coconut
We
flavor.
actually put it in our smoothies. Yosef and I were talking about all the smoothies and the kale smoothie that we make.
Right.
So we put in a little bit of coconut because that's
Yum.
so healthy.
Texture's nice.
Yeah, we love coconut in the house, so we never leave. Always chuck that in. Okay, and the third kind that we've got, this is
Couldn't help myself.
this is gluten on gluten.
Oh yeah,
because
and more gluten to just keep it. And I love to eat
It's a
gluten free, but
pretzel.
sometimes you just got to go for it.
Right.
Yeah, this is a pretzel with a chocolate drizzle on top of a hamantaschen. And what is the filling?
The filling. Oh my god, I'm like forgetting the filling. I might have to look. Oh, it's a chocolate ganache filling.
Oh, chocolate
Yeah.
ganache. A chocolate ganache is very easy to make, and you can use it on so many different things. You basically take chocolate and heavy cream.
Or coconut milk. I use coconut milk.
Oh, this has got coconut milk on. Melt the chocolate into the cream, and that's what a ganache is. And that's how, from there, depending on the ratio, how you also make truffles as well.
Yeah.
And that
This is actually a truffle-like filling. The way that the ratio works out is what you do is you make the ganache. I just put it in the microwave for 30 seconds and stir, and that's it. And then I put it in the fridge to harden, and that's truffle filling right there. So, and because it helps when you fill it, but it helps when you fill it that the chocolate is harder because once it's soft, it's kind of just going to melt into the cookie. So I happen to really like these best right out of the freezer because the pretzel after a day or two begins to get a little bit, it's less crunchy, but right out of the freezer, these, I will be honest that they've been my lunch for a couple days just because, and I've been at home and I've been like, all I want are pretzel hamantaschen.
There's peanut butter in this.
There is peanut butter.
Right away, I can
Oh,
taste
yeah.
it.
There's actually peanut butter. It's a peanut butter dough with a ganache filling and a pretzel on top and a peanut butter chocolate drizzle. So there's peanuts.
So your
all
peanut
over.
butter is
Hopefully
your-
nobody here has a peanut allergy now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that'd be good.
No
and I
allergies.
use crunchy peanut butter in the dough so that the dough has
a texture.
just for fun to throw
like
it in
that.
there. And I love, you could see pieces of peanut in the dough. So that's a fun one.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
And last year, Melinda got a lot of attention on her blog for her tie-dye
Rainbow hamantaschen.
rainbow hamantaschen. I thought that was outrageous. And I really like, and it happens to Honey Apfelbaum as well. People take it. It happens to me with only that one recipe, my cheese likers, when people make it and then send us the pictures of what they've made. And that's really exciting.
that.
I wanted to do that for your lamb, but I made it, I served on Shabbos day. So, no Shabbos photos.
You have to do it again.
Sometimes it's very sad. Like I always say, if you haven't put it on Instagram, your food, it's like you never made it. My kids go crazy. You have to take a picture of everything. I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah. I have a new rule though. No, because whenever I go out for dinner, my husband gets so annoyed. He's like, you take pictures of food. Food gets cold, which happens a lot at restaurants, and even chefs and owners get very annoyed. They're like, well, the food was hot when I put it out, but 10 minutes later you're eating it, it's not warm anymore. So my new rule, and I will still take pictures of food, is I take a picture of the food, I put my phone down, I eat the food, and then I'll Instagram the picture while I'm waiting for the next course, so that I really get to eat the food hot, and then nobody has to wait for me.
right. I'm a big believer in that, and especially like talking about last night, wine also the right temperature. I'm going to bring this whole conversation full circle back to Yosef. There is nothing worse than cold red wine
I agree.
and room temperature white wine. Don't even serve it. It's like serving cold chicken soup. It's just unacceptable.
Right.
And people go, this wine wasn't so good because you didn't have
in
it
the
at the
fridge.
right temperature.
Red wine in the fridge is a
No,
big
bad.
no-no.
Very
do that.
sad. Here's a question I get asked a lot. You have some leftover wine. I don't understand what that means. Apparently, people don't finish a whole bottle.
I always
Well,
have leftover wine.
You
I'm not a
can.
big
I
drinker.
do like it for cooking.
So what do you do? What do you
would
do?
Put it into ice cube trays and freeze it, and then you could take out a piece of it and use it in your dish
That's interesting.
That's a great tip.
Oh, I like that.
as well.
I make my own balsamic vinegar.
Oh, that's
It's
a
balsamic style vinegar.
good.
'cause
Of
you don't-
course he does.
great-
I mean,
Yeah,
you can
you don't
you
have
can
that
also
in
make
your
a
house. It's a
reduction
secret.
and have as a glaze or syrup. You
Well, I
can
used
utilize
your
as well.
pomegranate. I
Mhm.
kept the leftover glaze, pomegranate glaze, and I've been using that. I should.
Yeah, but you could do that with wine as well. I've made
White
a reduction.
also?
I haven't. It's really better
With red?
With red.
Okay.
But I've made it with leftover wine and utilize it with blueberries and some other ingredients to bring a reduction down. Use it as a syrup or a reduction that you're utilizing on a dish or different things, and
you
it stays well in the refrigerator.
And you can keep in the fridge for a good
Yes.
couple of days and
Yep.
use it as as a drizzle like
Right.
they do in
Yes.
all the restaurants. Oh, I like that.
That's a
Do
great
you?
tip.
What's the point of making of cooking with it? I'm a strong believer that if I'm not going to drink that wine, I'm not going to cook with it. You use
I
the
agree.
best of the ingredients.
Agree.
Yeah.
Cooking wines, when you see the
What?
bottles on
Yeah,
the
I'm
there
not a
are
big fan of
bottles on the
those.
store shelves that
Yes.
they say red cooking wine. Don't buy them.
Yeah.
We've shouted that
Don't
from the
buy them.
rooftops. I
Yes.
shout that from the rooftops. Don't put
you won't
anything
drink
in your
it-
food you're not going to drink.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
that
agree.
simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently people don't finish a whole bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Actually, a very
me.
nice.
I never do. We just never go through it. I love to cook with wine more than drink it. So I find like I actually made Deanie Delivers has an incredible turkey roast recipe on her blog that I just made.
DiniDelivers.com, big
Yes.
fan. We are a big
Shout
fan
out.
of hers, and she was on the show a couple
That's
weeks
right.
ago.
And she's a great recipe, and it has white wine in it. And to me, I open up a bottle of white wine, and then I'm not going to drink it because I'm not such a big wine drinker. Next time I know, I'm just going to bring it to Naomi's house.
and sweet Nachman will be so happy.
Exactly. I actually interchange it with stock sometimes. So
Yeah,
if I don't have
absolutely.
wine in the house, I
Absolutely.
use stock. I use vegetable stock. I love Trader Joe's low sodium.
Yeah,
But,
fabulous.
I bet white wine probably would have been even tastier. But it was just to let everybody know it was an amazing recipe. So go find it and make it. But now I know, bring it to Naomi's.
Yeah.
I mean, you can utilize the white wine and as a base for making fish stocks or other things
Yeah.
as well.
I
And then
do
you
that.
could
Works
freeze
very
that. That would be very smart.
Exactly. So
You can marinate berries as well.
Oh,
Fresh
yeah.
berries, fresh fruits, and some white wine.
Really?
Never done that, but I think
Like
it's
macerating
delicious.
it, like with sugar,
Yeah.
but with white wine.
I would do white wine.
Genius.
A sweet
Yeah.
white.
We are all learning something here today. Listeners, viewers, guests,
Genius.
engineers.
Yeah.
Everyone's learning. We were just but I want to talk about if you do have leftover red wine,
Right.
because that really does come up, and not everybody's, chefing like we do. But
Right.
where should they store it?
Put the cork back on, seal it up so it's airtight, and leave it at room temperature. Or put it back in if I have a wine fridge, I put it back in the wine fridge if I need to. But it doesn't want to get too hot. It will spoil. It will start becoming vinegar.
Once you start messing
Right.
with the temperatures too many times, the wine, it really messes up the
But
flavour.
please do not put it in the refrigerator. Please.
Do you recommend devices that pump air into the?
They are very
Sit down.
popular. I'm a little like Naomi. I don't have leftover wine. Unless if I do want to use it for vinegar, I will make sure that I set it aside. So I need to top up my balsamic vinegar. So again, it's balsamic style vinegar. I've been called out on that because the process is not the
Same.
official.
Right. You have to be
But,
from Moderna to make
right.
balsamic vinegar
Right.
in Italy.
If I want to do that, I'll set aside. But if you remove the air, you remove the chance of oxidation. The science is there. Have never done it.
Okay.
Because you don't have leftover wine. That's the only reason, people. It's okay.
That's very funny. And white wine can go in the fridge.
Yeah, white wine should go in the fridge. I think
You
you
can
want to
have
serve it
vanilla,
chilled.
Like
It should be
a
ready
dry,
when you
like
want
a
it.
Chardonnay. Is that supposed to be cold or not?
You know,
I don't know.
I really
Cold.
enjoy an ice cold white wine. I don't
Oh,
I don't
some of the
like.
wines last night went
Let's
so
differentiate
ice cold.
that.
Hard at
I
an
was
event.
sad.
It's a
Yeah.
big room. There's lots of
I
people.
know
It's
it was
difficult.
hard. It was hard, but I would imagine some of them were even better if they were white. Wow, we are running out of time.
When you say ice cold, make sure not to put ice in your.
Correct. Don't put ice in your wine. And
Because
don't
that,
drink your
di-
wine.
that
Bad thing.
dilutes it and makes it taste like
Correct.
water.
Correct.
What an incredible show. Didn't you feel like this hour? We've got like 1 minute left. This
Wow.
hour just went like that.
So
It goes
quick.
very
We're going to
fast.
need another hour. Is that
We
cool?
could do this, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it means? You'll have to come back up again.
Nice.
After Pesach. We've got
Right.
a huge lineup between now and Pesach. You've got to stick around every Friday. You can listen to our shows in so many different ways during the week as well on the Nachum Siegel Network app, nachumsiegel.com, on iTunes. We are a podcast. We have so many ways of hearing all these amazing guests share their brilliant ideas with us. You are listening to Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Siegel Network. Our show is sponsored by Hod Golan, and music is sponsored up until Lichbenching by our friends at Kedem. Wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Happy cooking.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.